Check your CRM114 receiver circuits, test your water for fluoride, and ride your nuke to mutually assured destruction because we are watching the 1964 Stanley Kubrick dark comedy classic Dr. Strangelove on this episode of Blind Spots and Second Thoughts. Welcome yet again to another episode of Blind Spots and Second Thoughts. I'm Dan.
I'm Heather.
And Heather, I am going to start by asking you if you actually know the full title of the movie we are going to watch for this episode.
I knew that this movie had a long subtitle. It's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love the Bomb.
You have a little transposed. It's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Okay, so I just had, I think, 2 words in the wrong place?
Yeah.
Go me.
What else do you know about this movie?
Honestly, nothing.
Really?
I was racking my brain after you mentioned that we were going to cover this movie, wondering if I knew anything about it because I did know the full title or close to the full title.
Do you know why?
No, but you know my memory is weird. Sometimes things just stick in there. I don't know. I believe I've seen the cover art for this one, but I don't know anything about it. I have this notion that it's sort of maybe satirical or like a black comedy or something along those lines, but I actually have no idea if that's in any way accurate.
Okay. Do you know who directed the movie?
I don't off the top of my head, but when you say it, it may sound familiar to me.
This movie was directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Okay, yes, that actually does.
What Kubrick films have you seen, and what are you and do you have feelings about him as a director?
I've seen The Shining, though it did take me a long time to see The Shining.
Okay.
Have we talked about that before?
I don't think so.
Well, I'm a huge Stephen King fan.
I did know that.
As you know. And Stephen King notoriously hated the Stanley Kubrick, The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
And in my younger years, because I came to Stephen King when I was in high school. And so I think I was like, well, I'm not going to watch The Shining because Stephen King doesn't like The Shining and I'm team Stephen King. So bleh. And then as I grew into more of a general horror fan than just a Stephen King fan, I eventually reached a point where I thought, okay, I have to watch The Shining. And I mean, I did think it was obviously a very well done movie. It does stray from the source material. So people on both sides of the aisle are right. Do not use that out of context.
That's going to be the poll quote for the episode.
Oh no, I'm going to get canceled. So, The Shining.
Okay.
I know that Stanley Kubrick has a reputation for being kind of a perfectionist in a way that may have been difficult for some of the actors and crew, I guess, but actors for sure in his films. That's really all I know about him and kind of my only stance on the matter.
So this is not his full filmography, but these are the notable ones. Spartacus.
No.
I actually haven't seen Spartacus either. Lolita.
No, actually.
Dr. Strangelove. 2001, A Space Odyssey.
No.
That one might be worth a visit. It's definitely important in film history, but it's also not, in my opinion, it's not like a fun watch. It's not a romp.
You know me, I love a romp.
A Clockwork Orange.
No, but I know a little bit about that one.
Okay. Barry Lyndon.
No.
I actually haven't seen that one either. I need to. The Shining. Full Metal Jacket. Eyes Wide Shut.
No.
And then he died.
Okay. Spoiler.
I love the gasp, like you didn't know.
I mean, I did know. I knew that he was dead. I wasn't expecting that to be the end of that list.
Well, he died famously during production of Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That makes more sense.
So this movie, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, stars Peter Sellers, most famous for playing Inspector Clouseau in the Pink Panther movies. He would be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for this film.
Okay.
It also stars future Academy Award winner George C. Scott.
I don't know. That name sounds familiar, and do you think I'll recognize him when I see him?
You might. I don't know. He played Patton and Patton. So,
I haven't
the
seen that.
iconic, honestly, I haven't either, but it's the iconic shot of General Patton standing in front of the American flag, delivering a big speech for the first part of the movie. That's George C. Scott. Slim Pickens is also in this movie.
That's a person?
That is a person.
Okay.
Sterling Hayden and a very young James Earl Jones in his first film role.
Him I know.
This movie was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay from the novel Red Alert, although it did fail to win any of those awards.
Okay.
It was also selected by the Library of Congress as one of the first 25 films added to the National Film Registry.
In our Groundhog Day episode, you mentioned the Library of Congress inducting that movie, and I said I agreed with that take. That was after we'd watched the movie, so I cannot weigh in on this one quite yet. I cannot give this Heather seal of approval at this time.
Gotcha. Okay. So to set the stage for this movie, it was released in January of 1964, which was arguably the peak of the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States.
I've heard of it.
The Cuban Missile Crisis was a little over a year previous, and the threat of nuclear war was hanging very heavily over the world. People were building bomb shelters in their backyards, and the rhetoric between the two rival superpowers was quite severe at this point in history. Additionally, John F. Kennedy had just been assassinated the previous November, and notable New York advertising firm Sterling Cooper just narrowly avoided a buyout from advertising juggernaut McCann Erickson, reforming itself into Sterling Cooper Draper Price.
These are all on equal footing of importance.
Right. So that is setting the stage for this movie.
Okay.
Do you have any other thoughts or any other?
Based on that context, I suspect that the full title is going to be relevant, that the word bomb is in it.
Might have something to do with it. Who knows?
Just maybe.
Any other thoughts? Or
I don't think so.
All right. Let's watch the movie and then find out.
Let's do it.
Mandrake,
Yes, Jack?
have you ever seen a commie drink a glass of water?
Well, yeah, I can't say I have, Jack.
Vodka. That's what they drink, isn't it? Never water?
Well, I believe that's what they drink, Jack, yes.
On no account will a commie ever drink water, and not without good reason.
Oh, yes. I don't quite see what you're getting at, Jack.
Water. That's what I'm getting at, water. Mandrake, water is the source of all life. 7/10 of this Earth's surface is water. Why do you realize that 70% of you is water?
Oh, Lord.
And as human beings, you and I need fresh, pure water to replenish our precious bodily fluids.
Yes.
Are you beginning to understand?
Yes.
Mandrake. Mandrake, have you never wondered why I drink only distilled water or rainwater and only pure grain alcohol?
Well, it did occur to me, Jack, yes.
Have you ever heard of a thing called fluoridation? Fluoridation of water?
Yes, I have heard of that, Jack, yes. Yes.
Well, do you know what it is?
No, I don't know what it is now.
Do you realize that fluoridation is the most monstrously conceived and dangerous communist plot we have ever had to face?
All right, Heather, now you have seen Dr. Strangelove.
Yes, I have.
What did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was satirical and it was zany. It was funny. I really liked it.
It's such a great movie. It is zany in small doses. There's lots of tension and then it's broken up with zaniness, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I think it's really well balanced. There are some pretty madcap moments, but they are contrasted with more serious moments that are also funny because of the satire.
And it really emphasizes it really puts a very dark punctuation mark on it as well.
Yeah. And it's very relevant.
Yeah.
It's so relevant, which is not great for our lives, but great for a movie.
I want to know what makes you say that it's so relevant because, obviously at the time of recording this, we're not in the middle of a Cold War. Who knows what's going to happen between when we record this and when it releases. But as of now, we're not in a Cold War with the Soviet Union, which currently no longer exists, mostly. So what to you makes it relevant today?
Well, I can sum that up with a line from the movie. War is too important to be left to the politicians. I feel like I'm in over my head a lot with politics, so I don't really want to speak too specifically to it. It just felt very much like people's lives being left in the hands of these types of men. Also, one particular thing that felt really relevant in a very weird way was Ripper's obsession with, bodily fluids and then the fluoride. And I'm like, isn't that a conspiracy theory a bonkers conspiracy theory that people still believe to this day?
Oh, our current Secretary of Health and Human Services has said things to that effect. So that's fun.
Yeah. I'm assuming you also think that it's relevant. So what do you identify?
I think it's an important movie. I think it's definitely a movie of its time. Like, especially when you view it now, it's very funny. But when you view it in the context of they were doing duck and cover drills in elementary schools.
True.
And they were terrified that the world was literally going to end in nuclear war at any given moment. And when you viewed that they made this movie in that context, that makes it stand out even more, which is, to me, it's hilarious. It'd be like, it's my understanding, not having seen it, it's a lot like Weapons, or a movie that would satirize school shootings, or, if you satirized January 6th or something like that. It would be like making a movie like that in that context and releasing it. And it makes it so much better, honestly.
Yeah, no, I can see that. It's hard to think about satire because I would say that there are elements of Weapons, because you mentioned that one, that are analogies for school shootings. That's one read of the movie that I've heard, but it's not satire. So that, I think, is a really important component of it, of like poking fun at the ridiculousness of it when it is a very real fear and a very real presence in people's lives.
Did you have any favorite quotes from Dr. Strangelove?
From him specifically?
Well, just from the movie.
From the movie.
Yeah.
When Buck Turgidson's
right.
girlfriend, secretary, whatever she is, when she calls him when he's in the war room and he's talking to her, and then at the end he says, "Don't forget to say your prayers."
Right.
That really made me laugh. He'll see the big board.
He'll see the
everything.
Big board.
He'll see everything. He'll see the big board. Not really a specific quote, but just both conversations between the president and Dmitri, who I can't even remember what his title is.
He's the premier of Russia.
The premier. I knew he was what I could, because he just, Dmitri.
The head of the Soviet Union.
No, actually, there is a specific quote when he says, "Of course I like to call you. Of course I like to say hello." And then, of course, you're going to have to answer to the Coca-Cola company.
Right.
That's a good one. There were a lot of funny lines.
So we talked about this movie in the context of the Cold War, but there were some other significant changes made to this movie because of when it was released. I mentioned it was released in the beginning of 1964. A test screening of the movie was originally scheduled for November 22nd. 1963.
Oh my God.
But was canceled.
Yeah, understandably. Wait, what happened?
Yeah. Well, that's when James Franco time traveled, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. That, of course, was the date that John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, which also led to some other changes to the movie. First of all, the line when Major Kong is going through their emergency kits in case they have to crash the plane, and he's reading off the increasingly ludicrous items. At the end, the line was, a fella could have a pretty good time in Dallas with all that, but because one of those things was a gun, they went ahead and decided to change the line, and you can read his lips do not match what he says. And in the movie, he says, a fella could have a pretty good time in Vegas with all that. The original ending also had a pie fight in the war room after the movie's end, with the president getting struck by a pie and the line, gentlemen, our gallant young president has been struck down in his prime.
Oh my goodness.
So that was also removed.
Yeah.
I think for the better. I love the way the movie ends on the hard cut on Strangelove's last line. So it might not have just been because of that line. They might have just cut that one line, but it's good that they cut the pie fight, I think.
I think a pie fight might have been too silly.
The New York Times review of the film by Bosley Crowther, dated January 30th, 1964, starts by saying the movie, quote, is beyond any question the most shattering, sick joke I've ever come across. And I say that with full recollection of some of the grim ones I've heard from Mort Saul, some of the cartoons I've seen by Charles Addams, and some of the stuff I've read in Mad Magazine. For this brazenly jesting speculation of what might happen within the Pentagon and within the most responsible counsel of the President of the United States, if some maniac Air Force general should suddenly order a nuclear attack on the Soviet Union, is at the same time one of the cleverest and most incisive satiric thrusts at the awkwardness and folly of the military that have ever been on the screen. My reaction to it is quite divided because there is so much about it that is grand, so much that is brilliant and amusing, and much that is grave and dangerous.
Interesting.
The U.S. government's reaction to the film was to assure the public that such a thing could never happen, although later it seems that the movie may have also inspired some policy changes, so it may have actually been possible.
Do you know what policy changes?
I don't know, but supposedly, according to an article in the New Yorker that said almost everything in Dr. Strangelove was true, there may have been contingency plans like Attack Plan R that might have been carried out by crazy bodily fluids obsessed generals.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that reviewer mentioned the awkwardness and folly of the military because, I mean, I just think that was the scariest part. Ripper just deciding to go rogue and having the ability to do it. Mm-hmm. It's more serious than awkwardness and folly. Well, I guess that's folly.
The novel the film was based on, Red Alert, was straightforward and a cautionary tale about how nuclear deterrence and supposed safeguards in the case of the president's death or incapacitation could be exploited by a rogue general. Kubrick noted that as he was adapting the book, what he was writing was darkly funny, and he brought in screenwriter Terry Southern to collaborate with himself and Peter George, the book's original author. Kubrick himself described the movie as a nightmare comedy.
So the book was not
No, the book was not funny.
Okay.
So the movie begins with a disclaimer assuring the contemporary audience that the United States government says that this could not possibly happen. Don't worry. And then there are the opening credits, which feature a midair refueling over an instrumental version of Try a Little Tenderness. And it looks like two planes making a baby plane in the air.
I didn't even get that.
Really?
Yeah.
The fact that it's a midair refueling, but they're playing romantic music, Try a Little Tenderness.
Yeah. That went over my head, much like a plane.
Something that's notable about the opening credits is the hand-lettered text by designer Pablo Ferrero. They stand out in a very unique and cool design way, and they've been imitated, most notably in the opening credits of Men in Black. So the movie opens up very seriously. It's actually a while before you get to any kind of funny moments. General Ripper orders his executive officer, Colonel Mandrake, played by Peter Sellers, to put Burleson Air Force Base on condition red and lock the base down.
Okay, so maybe not that long before we get to anything funny, because Burleson is ridiculous.
All the names in this movie are
every single one
hilarious.
Yeah. Ripper's name is Jack Ripper.
Yeah, General Jack D. Ripper.
They should have known.
General Ripper issues Attack Plan R, and that cuts to Major Kong's bomber. Major Kong, played by Slim Pickens.
I think you have to say it, Slim Pickens.
He's fantastic in this as part of the 843rd Bomb Wing. There's a little bit of a voiceover, the only voiceover in the movie, to get you caught up to know that the U.S., and this was true at the time, the U.S. did keep nuclear bombers in the air 2 hours from their targets in the Soviet Union pretty much at all times. They don't anymore because we have ICBMs and nuclear subs, but at the time, yeah, we did have bombers pretty much in the air at all times. It's kind of amazing that we survived the Cold War, to be perfectly honest.
It really is. Let's hope we do it again.
The first obvious joke is when it looks like one of the crew members is studying important flight information, and then the camera zooms out and it's a Playboy.
Yeah. But she does have a document on her butt that says Foreign Affairs.
Yeah.
So you don't know that wasn't going to help with plane stuff.
Right. So the bomber wing gets the message for Plan R encoded on their CRM 114. CRM 114 is referenced in a lot of other movies. And it's one of those things that, because, filmmakers love this movie. You can look at Wes Anderson takes a lot of influence. Barry Sonnenfeld takes a lot of influence. Men in Black. CRM 114 is one of those things that ends up in other works and
cool.
referenced a lot. So the CRM 114 circuit is how they receive their coded messages. They receive the message. Major Kong breaks out the cowboy hat. Now, we haven't talked about Peter Sellers. Peter Sellers plays 3 parts.
I did not realize that
in this movie
when we watched it.
You know what? Honestly, neither did I the first time I saw it, because his accents are so good.
Yeah.
You could tell. I mean, and you could tell because Dr. Strangelove is a very silly voice.
Yeah.
But his President Muffley voice, his accent, there's not a lick of that, British person trying to be American at all.
No. Do you know if Mandrake was his real voice, or
it's closer to his? It's a lot more
affected.
Yeah, it's a lot more affected British. But Major Kong was actually also supposed to be played by Peter Sellers.
Okay.
Peter Sellers was worried about it. He didn't think that he could convincingly do a Texan accent, and he sprained his ankle and bowed out. I don't know. Sources say that, maybe he didn't really hurt his ankle that bad. He just used it as an excuse. So
was Slim Pickens Texan?
So Slim Pickens was that guy. Here's a quote from an article. As it turns out, Slim Pickens had never left the United States. He had to hurry and get his first passport. He arrived on the set and somebody said, "Gosh, he's arrived in costume," not realizing that that's how he always dressed, with the cowboy hat and the fringe jacket and the cowboy boots.
Aww.
And that he wasn't putting on the character. That's the way he talked.
Where was it filmed?
It was mostly filmed in England, I believe.
Okay.
Slim Pickens was a former rodeo clown, and he was directed by Stanley Kubrick to play the part completely straight.
Oh. Okay. That was him playing it completely straight?
Yes. Isn't that awesome?
I dread to think what it would have been like if he tried to play it campy or silly.
He's so fantastic, though.
No, he is really good.
The only things I've seen him in are this and Blazing Saddles, and he's fantastic in both. But he was a larger than life person, and apparently that's just who he was.
Well, good for him.
Major Kong gets on the intercom to the plane and tells them about their mission and says that there are citations for everyone regardless of race, color, or creed. So Major Kong is progressive.
Yeah.
That's pretty
love
nice.
it.
Then we move on to General Buck Turgidson.
The most ridiculous name I've ever heard in my life.
General Buck Turgidson getting a middle of the night phone call. He happens to be with his secretary.
Mm-hmm.
I love this scene because it is so dry and funny. It's the first of these one-sided phone calls where we don't hear the person on the other end. The secretary's back and forth where she's being very professional and she sounds like she's trying to be flirty but also professional, and she's flirting with both of them at the same time.
Yeah, she was great. She doesn't come back after the scene, but
No.
I really liked her.
It was 3 a.m. and I can't figure out, were they wearing swimsuits? It is hard to tell because I don't know if that was supposed to be his underwear or pajamas or and what he was doing at 3 a.m.
What she was wearing looked like a bikini.
Yeah.
Well, and the bikini bottom also kind of looked like a diaper or like one of those pull-ups, like swim pull-ups.
1963.
So I guess I sort of did just assume it was swimwear, but
Yeah, but why were they wearing swimwear at 3 a.m?
good question.
Good party, apparently. So after the one-sided phone call, then even though the secretary urges Buck to stay with her and stay in bed with her, Buck says he's just got to go, to the war room. It's not really a big deal, but he's just got to, go to the war room for a little bit.
It's cash. But he tells her that he will be back before she can say, blast off. Is that what he says when he,
Oh,
That's the impression I got. He says it with such relish.
such gusto.
Yeah.
Back on Burpelson Air Force Base, Mandrake discovers a radio that's been left behind inside some of the machinery. Turns it on, finds out that civilian music is still playing, and he goes to Ripper. And that's when Ripper tells him that he shouldn't have done that. And I can no longer sit back and allow communist infiltration, communist indoctrination, communist subversion, and the international communist conspiracy to sap and impurify all of our precious bodily fluids.
It's so good because the list starts out with 3 things that sound so grounded and real. When you get to that last one, it is so effective.
And the editing is great too, because there's just a pause on Ripper's face before it goes to the next scene for it to sink in and really hit you.
Yeah. You're just like, you're not expecting it at all. And it just works so well.
The next scene is the war room briefing where we find out what has happened. General Ripper called the president and urged him to go ahead and start World War III, essentially, and annihilate the USSR before they could fight back. George C. Scott is so unhinged and so funny in this movie.
He is, but and first of all, let me say that I did recognize him when we watched the movie. His name sounded familiar, but I wasn't sure. He is in a classic horror movie called The Changeling.
Huh.
It's considered by some to be the scariest movie of all time. I've heard it called that. I watched it. It was good, but I didn't think it was that scary. But I know him from that. And in that, he plays...
Scarier than Cars 2?
I haven't seen Cars 2, so I can't compare. They are probably on a level. But in The Changeling, he is playing a man who, spoiler, loses his wife and like tween-aged daughter, and he is grieving, and then some supernatural things start to happen to him. So very, very different role. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that he is unhinged, but the dialogue that he has is very, like, he sounds smart. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He's just super intense and like he's trying to deflect blame, right? Like when he's explaining to the president how this happened, he's like, you approve this, remember? And so I think that's another thing that makes the comedy so effective is that he's not just completely ridiculous. Like he is speaking from a place of military knowledge.
Yeah,
but it's just cranked up to 1,000%.
He's ridiculous, but he's competent, but he's also ridiculous.
And he doesn't know that he's ridiculous. And that I think is what makes it so funny is that he's not a buffoon. That like, I think that would be maybe less, that wouldn't really be satire as much maybe. But the fact that, yes, he seems competent. He's just so over the top.
And he is constantly putting in new pieces of gum.
Yeah, he chews more gum than you.
And I chew a lot of gum.
You do. You love gum.
I love that he's just constantly shoving gum in his face during this scene. This is when we, the audience, find out what Plan R is. It's a failsafe for retaliation in case the president has been incapacitated. So generals could order a nuclear strike as a retaliatory strike, but they are not authorized to do this if the president is not incapacitated, which leads to the quote, which is, I love as you said, his hemming and hawing on it. You are the only person authorized to do so. And although I hate to judge before the facts are in, it looks like General Ripper exceeded his authority. It's the matter-of-fact phrasing and the soft shoeing, the horrible thing that's happened.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I didn't have this thought, but we watched this movie with my kid, and my kid pointed out that George C. Scott bears a strong resemblance to Tim Robinson.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, so you could see like it's a very similar, I would say Tim Robinson has more of kind of like a desperation to his manicness, but yeah, and they also do have similar kind of facial structures. So I thought that was interesting. I hadn't thought about it.
No, me either, but I see it.
So, not that you should remake movies, but I think that you could cast Tim Robinson in a similar role if you did something like that. That would be pretty funny. That's when Turgidson gets the call from his secretary, and again, he has the one-sided call with her. Yep. That's quite funny. Turgidson suggests a full strike on Russia to do what Ripper has essentially set up, but President Muffley refuses and orders the army to storm the base and arrest Ripper and get him on the phone with the president. Muffley then brings in the Russian ambassador over Turgidson's objections.
Because he's going to see the big board.
He'll see the big board! They argue and get into a little bit of a physical altercation when Turgidson says that he catches him with a spy camera, which leads to the amazing, sublime line, "Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room."
So good. It's so good. It's he's aghast. It's delivered so straight. He's like appalled that they are getting into fisticuffs. You can't fight in here. This is the war room.
And it's so great that, again, Peter Sellers was so funny because he does both, plays absolutely absurd and also 100% straight man.
Yeah. He was really good.
Both so well in this movie.
The president is kind of on the more straight side. I mean, completely straight, honestly. And then Mandrake kind of fluctuates between, and then Strangelove is crazy.
Just bonkers.
Yeah, so it's just like it is a spectrum, and he just nails it all.
Honestly, it's kind of insane that he didn't win Best Actor for
Do you know who
this
did?
part. It was Rex Harrison for My Fair Lady.
Yikes.
That one over this? Why can't a woman be more like a man? That one over this? That is insane.
That's what I'm saying. When you look back at some of these older movies and you see what won over what, it is mind-boggling sometimes.
Oh.
Not that My Fair Lady has been lost to time, but just, it's crazy.
President Muffley calls the Soviet premier, Dmitry Kisov.
Yep. I love this phone call. It is so good. It is so good. And it's great to be good. No, they're fine. That's what he says. Well, I'm fine too. It's good that we're both fine.
Well, you're sorry and I am sorry. We're both sorry, Dimitri.
You're not more sorry than I am.
No. Muffley gives the Soviets the attack plans so they can shoot down the planes.
Sorry, I just read one of the other lines from the phone call. The general, he did a silly thing.
What, the general?
He ordered his planes to attack your country. He did a silly thing.
It's such a funny scene. Muffley gives the Soviets the attack plan, but then at the end of the call, Kisov gets back on with the Russian ambassador and tells him something shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, back on Burpelson Air Force Base, the Army has arrived and the Air Force guys were told that the Russians would be arriving and they would be disguised as U.S. troops. So I feel bad for the Air Force guys who are shooting at and getting shot at by the Army guys.
Yeah.
It's probably the saddest thing that happens in this movie, although darkly funny, the combat that's happening in front of the sign that says peace is our profession.
Peace is our profession. Oh, it's good.
Back in the war room in the Pentagon, the ambassador reveals the Doomsday Machine.
Ooh.
It turns out that there is a doomsday device that the Soviets have built, and it will be an immediate retaliatory strike that will end the world should a nuclear weapon explode over the USSR.
That seems extreme, but what are you going to do?
Back on Burpelson Air Force Base, we have General Ripper and Mandrake reluctantly...
Poor Mandrake. I feel so bad for
feeding him bullets for his machine gun that he keeps in his golf bag, which is also pretty hilarious.
Yeah. And he fights to get it out.
Feed me, Mandrake. He said, feed me. I was there feeding you, Jack. And then we have General Ripper's fluoridation speech, which is so great.
He also talks about how he has an essence and women are drawn to him because of this essence, but he doesn't share it with them.
He denies
them his essence. I wrote
women sense his power and they seek his life essence. He does not avoid women, but he does deny them his essence.
And I wrote, on behalf of all women, it's cool, dude. We don't need your essence. I feel comfortable speaking for all of us on this matter.
I love that he said that he noticed the reason he knows that fluoridation is a problem is because he first noticed a sense of fatigue and emptiness after the physical act of love.
Oh my God.
So he ascribed his refractory period to fluoridation.
It's as good a theory as any.
Oh, what better reason to start World War III and end the world?
We say in 2026.
Yeah. Back in the war room, now we meet the titular character, Dr. Strangelove.
So far into the movie. I was shocked. You see him earlier at the table in the war room. I saw him and I was like, I recognize him from the cover. We don't actually meet him until more than halfway through.
Also played by Peter Sellers. He is a defected former Nazi scientist with a
quote unquote former
with a possibly possessed arm.
I guess whoever wrote the movie Idle Hands was also inspired by this movie.
Yeah, I mentioned to you while we were watching it that in Men in Black, Barry Sonnenfeld more or less directed Vince D'Onofrio to walk like Dr. Strangelove when he's moving around as the bug in the Edgar suit.
And he does. That's absolutely what he looks like.
I love when they're talking about the Doomsday device and Dr. Strangelove, inspired by, I believe, Werner von Braun and other former Germans who came over and defected after World War II. When Dr. Strangelove is laying out how the Doomsday device could work, General Turgidson is talking to someone else and he's like, Strangelove, that's not really a Kraut name. And the other guy is like, he changed it from, and he says something very German sounding. It's literally Strangelove in German.
Oh, really? That's funny.
So Dr. Strangelove explains that the doomsday device will go off and essentially end the world if a nuclear bomb is detected over the Soviet Union. But then he points out that the whole point of having the device is that you should tell the world about it. Why didn't you tell the world about it? And
They were going to
on Monday because the premier likes his surprises. So it's in place and active, but was not due to be announced until Monday.
We don't know what day it is now, do we?
No.
Okay.
Just not Monday.
Right.
So since the Soviets were given the attack plan so they could deter the bombers in case the bombers could not be recalled, Major Kong's bomber is attacked with a surface-to-air missile. They managed to evade it just barely, but that leads to several problems. They are leaking fuel and their CRM-114 is damaged, so they can no longer receive coded messages.
Oh, no. Another flaw in the plan.
Yeah.
Like, you can only call this off with the secret code. Well, what if that machine is damaged?
The Army successfully takes over Burpelson Air Force Base, which leads Ripper to lock himself in the bathroom and kill himself. Mandrake then is flustered, but sees the scribblings of a totally sane, normal man.
Completely.
And determines that the 3-letter code for the CRM-114 is likely some combination of POE. And he's correct. It actually happens to be OPE. We saw that earlier in the movie. Mandrake is found by Army Colonel Bat Guano.
That's his real name?
It says, if you look at his name tag, you can see Bat is in quotes. So like his last name is Guano, and then people just nicknamed him Bat, and he goes by that.
That guy looked really familiar to me, and I looked him up, and I couldn't figure out what I knew him from, but he had an extensive filmography. He was in so much stuff. Just the length of the list was insane.
Colonel Guano is very dense and does not respond to Mandrake's very sensible pleas until Mandrake basically just forces him to take him to a nearby payphone. There's some great gags in here too, like when he picks up the phone and the cord is just cut off.
Yeah. The extended bit with the change is so funny because
he's trying to call the White House and does not have the correct amount of change. And the operator, he tried to make it a collect call and the White House declined, the Pentagon.
And so he's trying to see if Guano has any change. And Peter Sellers plays it so straight. And again,
Guano's like, I wouldn't bring loose change into a combat mission.
Yeah. But it just, it's very, very funny.
Yeah, finally it ends with Mandrake ordering Colonel Guano to shoot the Coca-Cola machine nearby to get some change out. And Guano says, okay, but if you're not right about this, you're going to have to answer to the Coca-Cola company. And that scene is very funny. The one thing, if I could change one thing about this movie, I probably would remove the Coke hitting Guano in the face, because that feels a little lowbrow for the rest of this movie. The rest of this movie is such smart and subtle humor, and that's just a very physical gag.
Too slapstick.
Yeah, which is, I mean, the same thing would have been true for the pie fight. So that's the one bit that to me stands out a little bit, and it's maybe a little too silly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the War Room celebrates because they are able to recall most of the bombers, but they note that there is still one bomber left on the big board. That would be Major Kong's bomber. They have redirected because of their fuel leaks. They're no longer going to their primary or secondary targets. So they are winging it, and the Russians cannot find them because
wigging it.
Major Kong is such a good pilot. He's flying low and below enemy radar. And you've got the really great scene where George Scott is like, do they have a chance? Hell yeah!
Oh, the realization that comes over him. And I don't know if it's in that same moment, but when the president is then back on the phone with the premier talking about the planes that have been shot down and the planes that have been recalled, but that there's one plane left. And when they realize that one plane can set off the doomsday machine, the look on George Scott's face is so funny. He looks like he just knocked over a display at a supermarket. He just looks like, whoops.
He's got his hand up to his face, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just like cringing, but it's so funny.
Back to the bomber, Major Kong's bomber. The bomb doors won't open. James Earl Jones is
baby James Earl Jones.
incapable
we haven't talked about
of
him.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot to do here, but he's
sounds the same.
Yeah.
Very handsome. I think I only ever saw him when he was much older.
He looks the same to me.
I mean, he looks like him, but he looks young and handsome. Not to say that he wasn't handsome when he was older, but you know what I mean.
The bomb doors were also damaged in the attack. So Major Kong goes to check it out. One of my favorite visual gags in this movie is the bombs with "Hi there" and "Dear John" written on them.
That also feels like something that people would do, though.
Yeah.
Like, and that was interesting to me because it was funny, but it also felt realistic. And then it really underscored this idea of the ways that people cope with the horrors of war, but also the world.
And also, it's so funny because it's a hydrogen bomb. Like, no civilian population or nothing other than a test has ever been conducted with a bomb of that scale. Like, those bombs are considerably more powerful than the atomic bombs that hit Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And just the fact that you have this awe-inspiring, world-destroying power, and someone wrote "Hi there" on it.
Yes, but that's what humans do. I mean, really, I really believe that. We can't cope with things of this magnitude. We have to make them feel more within our control.
Yeah.
It was a funny gag, but it also was like, yeah, they would do that for that reason.
I also personally got a kick out of the instruction that says "this side down" on the nuclear weapon. Although, like, there might have been a practical reason for it, but it's also just funny to think that, like, you know, this is the side you want to go down for the nuclear bomb. Like it matters. Major Kong is repairing the bomb door as the plane approaches its improvised target. The door opens up while Major Kong is straddling the bomb, which leads to the bomb being dropped with Major Kong riding it and giving his rodeo woo.
Yeah, he is.
As the bomb drops.
He's loving it.
That is an iconic shot that's been parodied, and I had seen it. I didn't know what it was from originally. Like, I think the first time I saw it, it was a Simpsons episode where they had Homer doing that shot and waving the cowboy hat. Yeah, it's one of those shots that I'd seen a billion places.
I don't think I ever have.
It's a very iconic shot, and it perfectly captures this movie, and that it is somber and hilarious at the same time.
Yeah.
And the bomb goes off. Now, with the bomb destroyed and the doomsday device sure to go off any moment, in the war room, they start making plans, a very eugenics forward plan to send people into mine shafts with a 10-to-1 female to male ratio, with the females selected for their sexual characteristics.
Oh, your voice is so good. Your impression is really good. But yeah, I mean, and that was just like, I got it, and it was effective in that I was like, of course. Like,
and he's stroking their egos, and he's telling you, of course, we would need the best military and political minds.
Yeah, but the guys are also like, when they hear it's going to be 10 women to one man, they're like, I think this is a pretty good idea. I'm like, gross. And I was like, you know, I have terrible genes. So in this situation, I don't know that I would get chosen. But if I had the choice between getting annihilated with the entire human race or getting to live, but as basically breeding stock, I mean, it'd at least be a coin flip.
the Soviet ambassador takes the distraction opportunity to go ahead and take more spy photos, which is pretty funny.
Which are good for about 2 seconds.
Then we must not allow a mineshaft gap. One of the things I don't know if you're familiar, the missile gap was something
but I looked up the movie after we watched it and I read a little bit about the missile gap.
So yeah, the missile gap was something that was talked about a lot during the Cold War in the 60s. And so now we have a mineshaft gap. And then that's the period of the movie. But then the punctuation mark is Dr. Strangelove, whose arm has been going increasingly insane. I love the bit where he's like biting his hand and
because
trying to keep it under control.
Giving a Nazi salute.
No, it's just an enthusiastic wave.
Oh, right.
It's just,
mistake.
He's just waving enthusiastically.
Yep. Yep.
That's a South African billionaire enthusiastic wave, not a Nazi salute.
I am so sorry.
He says, "Mr. President," and then he gets up out of his chair and surprises himself. And the last line of the movie, it's so funny. "Mein Führer, I can walk."
And then, as you said, hard cut to explosions.
Yeah, actual nuclear test footage. Basically, every nuclear test footage that they could get their hands on. And the song is "We'll Meet Again," which is so dark.
Yeah.
And so funny.
Yeah,
and
it's really
just
good.
A perfect,
I loved that
perfect
choice.
ending. And I'm very glad that they did not go with the pie fight. That's the perfect way to end this movie.
Yeah, it would have been too silly. It would have been too slapstick.
It is such a smart, funny movie. It's not what I expected. And it does not fit. It feels like such an odd character out with the rest of Stanley Kubrick's films, at least the ones that I've seen. You know, he's not known for his comedy stylings. Generally, you know, if you were going to describe Kubrick as a filmmaker, I would say cold and calculating are probably the most apt descriptors.
Don't quote me on this because I haven't seen it. As I said before, I've only seen The Shining, but I am given to understand that there may be some elements of dark humor in A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, but not like this. Like, not this kind of dark humor. It's more like kind of like sick dark humor, for lack of a better word. I don't know how to describe it. Like,
have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while. You know, the main character of the movie very famously commits a home invasion and a rape.
Yeah.
So
I knew that.
it's kind of hard to take anything that he does or says with any kind of levity. So there are moments where like he might say something that's kind of funny, but no, it's really just more dark than dark humor.
That's a young Malcolm McDowell, right?
Correct.
Never been a villain ever again.
Except for, you know,
all the other times that he was a villain.
Has he ever played like a not villain?
I don't know.
That's funny.
I don't know.
So that was Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah.
Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Who is I? Is I Stanley Kubrick? Is I one of the characters? Is it the Royal Eye?
I think it's the Royal Eye.
Okay.
I should show you the trailer. It's a very unique trailer, especially for 1964.
I'm just realizing that I didn't really think that movies from before the 70s had trailers.
No, they did. This one was very unique. The way that it's cut was also influential. It does a lot of like rapid cuts where you can't really tell what's going on. And I just distinctly remember the voiceover because it's a male voice going, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying, and then it cuts to a female voice who goes, Love the Bomb. So I always, anytime I think of the full title, I cannot help but hear it.
That's funny.
Love the Bomb. It was a movie that, you know, I came to it, I think I was either maybe late teens, early 20s when I first saw it finally. So my sense of humor was more or less fully formed. I wouldn't say it was an influential movie for me, but I was like, okay, I can see where the people who were my influences were 100% influenced by this movie. Like, this is the genesis of a lot of dry humor, and it's such a great piece of satire. But that's the movie. So I love it. I'm glad you loved it. It's a great film.
Yeah. I'm glad we watched it. I know it's a classic, so it's nice to have finally seen it.
Well, thank you for watching it with me, and thank you all for listening to us talk about it. I'm Dan.
I'm Heather.
And we will catch you next time on the next episode of Blind Spots and Second Thoughts.